Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivardhari Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Brajjana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajjana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jayambish Paramahamsa Parivajapachaya Ashtotrashata Shri Srimad Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Shri Guru, Shri Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Fourth canto, Creation of the Fourth Order, chapter 24, chanting the song sung by Lord Shiva, text 30. Ata Bhagavata Yuyam Priyasta Bhagavanyata Namad Bhagavatanam Cha Prayan Anyosti Karhichit Ata Bhagavata Yuyam Priyasta Bhagavanyata Namad Bhagavatanam Cha Prayan Anyosti Karhichit Ata Bhagavata Yuyam Priyasta Bhagavanyata Namad Bhagavatanam Cha Prayan Anyosti Karhichit Therefore, bhagavataha, devotees, yuyam, all of you, priyaha, very dear to me, sta, you are, Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, ita, as, na, neither, mat, than me, bhagavatanam, of the devotees, cha, also, prayan, very dear, anyaha, others, asti, there is, karhachit, at any time. Translation. You are all devotees of the Lord, and as such I appreciate that you are as respectable as the Supreme Personality of Godhead Himself. I know in this way that the devotees also respect me, and that I am dear to them. Thus no one can be as dear to the devotees as I am. Purport. It is said... Okay. It is said, Vaishnavanam yata Shambhu. Lord Shiva is the best of all devotees. Therefore, all devotees of Lord Krishna are also devotees of Lord Shiva. In Vrindavan there is Lord Shiva's temple called Gopishwar. The gopis used to worship not only Lord Shiva, but Katyayani, or Durga, as well. But their aim was to attain the favor of Lord Krishna. A devotee of Lord Krishna does not disrespect Lord Shiva, but worships Lord Shiva as the most exalted devotee of Lord Krishna. Consequently, whenever a devotee worships Lord Shiva, he prays to Lord Shiva to achieve the favor of Krishna, and he does not request material profit. In Bhagavad Gita 7:20, it is said that generally people worship demigods for some material profit. Kamaistastarhitagyana. Driven by material lust, they worship demigods, but a devotee never does so, for he is never driven by material lust. That is the difference between a devotee's respect for Lord Shiva and an asura's respect for him. The asura worships Lord Shiva, takes some benediction from him, misuses the benediction, and ultimately is killed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who awards him liberation. But Lord Shiva is our great devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He loves all the devotees of the Supreme Lord. Lord Shiva told the Prachetas that because they were devotees of the Lord, he loved them very much. Lord Shiva was not kind and merciful only to the Prachetas. Anyone who is a devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is very dear to Lord Shiva. Not only are the devotees dear to Lord Shiva, but he respects them as much as he respects the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Similarly, devotees of the Supreme Lord also worship Lord Shiva as the most dear devotee of Lord Krishna. They do not worship him as a separate personality of Godhead. It is stated in the list of Namaparads that it is an offense to think that the chanting of the name of Hari and the chanting of Hara or Shiva are the same. The devotees must always know that Lord Vishnu is the Supreme Personality of Godhead and that Lord Shiva is his devotee. A devotee should be offered respect on the level of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and sometimes even more respect. Indeed, Lord Ram, the Personality of Godhead himself, sometimes worshiped Lord Shiva. If a devotee is worshipped by the Lord, why should a devotee not be worshipped by other devotees on the same level with the Lord? This is the conclusion. From this verse, it appears that Lord Shiva blesses the asuras simply for the sake of formality. Actually, he loves one who is devoted to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Om Ganitavarandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshulanmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukam Karitvachalam Pangam Lange Tegirim Yakiputamaham Vande Shri Gurun Dinitaranam Vancha Kabalibasha Kripa Sindhu Bevacha Patitanam Pavanibhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Okay, I'll read the translation again. So this is Lord Shiva speaking. You are all devotees of the Lord, and as such, I appreciate that you are as respectable as the Supreme Personality of Godhead Himself. I know in this way that the devotees also respect me, and that I am dear to them. Thus, no one can be as dear to the devotees as I am. Hare Krishna. So this verse and purport, specifically the purport, well, verse 2, is saying that one should respect the devotees just as one would respect the Supreme Personality of Godhead, which is quite a quite a statement there. A lot of the times within this world, people, you could say it's hard to find somebody who respects the Supreme Personality of Godhead as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They have a hard time doing that. So respecting Krishna as God, or treating Him like He should be treated. So yeah, that's important too, to learn how to respect Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, because it's not obviously automatic that one will do that. There's many people who don't respect Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And those people are described in the Bhagavad Gita by Krishna Himself. Namam duskritina mudha prapadyante narayama maya pritagyana asuram bhavamashita. So those persons are avajananti ma mudha. Those persons are called mudhas by Krishna, or foolish, or donkey-like donkeys. One who doesn't surrender to Krishna, that's what they're called. And many people may think they know Krishna. I mean, just like sometimes on book distribution, going out on book distribution, devotees have the experience that someone may say, oh yeah, I know Krishna. Indians may say that I know Krishna. And also Americans, they also may say, I know Krishna. Just like there was one brahmachari's father here years ago. And the father, he wanted to know what his son was getting into, so he looked up Krishna, or did a little search on his computer. And then he read a little description of who Krishna is, and he concluded, I know who Krishna is. And his conclusion that he told his son, his realization of Krishna, was that he said, oh, I know Krishna, a warrior, so many wives. That was his conclusion. That Krishna was just bashing and killing, and he had so many wives. That was his conclusion. So, but it's not so easy, at least, right, from a Vaishnava perspective, we say it's not so easy to know Krishna. One has to study, one has to learn, one has to engage in the process by which one can realize who Krishna is. There's a process of finding out about Krishna. It's not just so easy. Any mudha can figure it out. So yeah, and again, a lot of people think they know. Just like I was hearing my spiritual master wrote in his book, Watering the Seed, all these little anecdotes and memories of his time in India with Prabhupada and the devotees there. So when they went there, Chutananda Swami, he was there and he was speaking with one man, one Indian man, and the man was trying to say that first there was Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and then came Radha Krishna. So that was his conviction. And Chutananda Swami was a little bewildered by what this fellow was saying, so he went to ask Prabhupada. And the man gave the example that what's better, milk and sugar or a rasgulla? And naturally people think, okay, rasgulla, right? That's better, which is the squeaky sweet. They say it's it's a squeaky sweet. You know what I mean by squeaky? If you've ever had a rasgulla, squeaky. You take it. If it's made red, it's supposed to squeak. Anyways. So Bengal sweet. So then he went. Chutananda Swami went to go ask Prabhupada. And this man said first Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and then Radha Krishna, and he gave this example of the milk and sugar and rasgulla. Well, I think he meant that, like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is supreme, and from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Radha Krishna comes. Yeah. So, importance and chronologically, yeah. Yeah. Rasgulla, yeah. So then Prabhupada said, well, the man, using his own analogy, Prabhupada said that, okay, the man said, what's better, rasgulla or milk and sugar? And Prabhupada said, well, what comes first, rasgulla or milk and sugar? And milk and sugar come first, which you make rasgulla. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, or Radha Krishna first, and then comes Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Rasgulla. So then they go on, and then Achyutananda Swami was saying, well, who's best? Who's better? Radharani's better, Krishna's better, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who's better? And then Prabhupada pointed to a picture. Apparently there was a picture nearby. Prabhupada pointed to a picture, and this picture was a picture of Krishna, and he was with his he was asking Srimati Radharani, it seemed like for forgiveness. He was trying to whatever. She was angry with him, something like that. He was kneeling down, and Srimati Radharani was there. So then Prabhupada said that Srimati Radharani is the best, based on that picture. And then Prabhupada looked at a picture of Krishna holding Nanda Maharaj's shoes on his head. Because Nanda Maharaj would say, please get my shoes, my dear son, and Krishna would bring his shoes on his head. So then Prabhupada said, Nanda Maharaj is the best. And then Prabhupada's conclusion was, the devotee is the best. Yeah, that's the conclusion. So yeah, this is Prabhupada's understanding. The devotee is the best. So although there may be so many ideas out there, which there are, we as followers or as members of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, we accept and follow the ideas that are propounded or that are explained or that are taught by our founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada, and not so many other ideas. And you could say that's a danger which Srila Prabhupada expressed to his disciples many times, that things will get spoiled, or ISKCON would be spoiled by so many different ideas coming in. or just like so many times, there's so many examples of very big movements, strong movements that are very successful in some regards, and then after the leader leaves the world, passes away, then everything crumbles. So when Srila Prabhupada was in India, one person asked him that. Said, "Oh, Swamiji, your movement is doing so great. You have temples all over the world, so many disciples, so many books are being distributed, so many things are going on. But what will happen when you leave?" And then he said, the future of our society is very bright, provided my followers follow my instructions. And he said, he said, if they don't, what can I do? But it's very bright if they follow my instructions. And then Prabhupada gave the example of Mahatma Gandhi, how he had a whole movement standing for certain principles, and when he left, they changed everything. And it just crumbled. So you could say it's a big responsibility for generations to come to preserve and to to preserve what Srila Prabhupada gave, and not bring in other ideas. And also sometimes people bring up this point of why did Lord Ramchandra worship Lord Shiva? That's people. And Prabhupada mentions that in the purport, and he relates it to sometimes Krishna worships his devotee. He says, a devotee should be offered respect on the level of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and sometimes even more respect. Indeed, Lord Ram, the Personality of Godhead himself, sometimes worshipped Lord Shiva. So that's how Prabhupada explains it. Because sometimes you may get that question. An Indian person comes by, "Oh, I read the Ramayana, or I heard that Ramchandra is worshipping Shiva. So what's going on with that? That means Shiva's supreme." So this is how Prabhupada explains it. And there's so many shlokas within the Bhagavatam and so many other books explaining how, sometimes Krishna worships his own devotee. And mentioning Lord Shiva and Katyayani, Durga, and how, in the purport, and how sometimes, or often, or practically all the time, people worship these personalities for material profit. And they have material desires. And Prabhupada mentions how, but devotees, they're not driven by material lust. They're driven by something else, say devotional service, wanting to please Krishna, wanting to please the spiritual master. And the fact that, as the Bhagavatam says, akamo, savakamo, va moksha kamo dadadi tivrena bhakti yogena yajeta purusham param, that if one is akama, has no material desires, sarvakama, has all material desires, moksha kama is desiring liberation, one should worship Krishna with tivrena bhakti yogena, with great intensity. So even if one has material desires, one should still go to Krishna. Of course, Krishna doesn't think it's very intelligent, but still, Krishna's, as I said recently, probably say it a few more times in my life, quoting the Sri Upanishad, Krishna is the self-sufficient philosopher fulfilling everybody's desires since time immemorial. So he could fulfill our desires. So we should go to him, even if we have material desires. But one thing to remember is that although it's said we should go to Krishna if we have material desires, we should remember that if one has material desires, they actually can understand Krishna fully. One has to get rid of those material desires to understand Krishna more and more and more. That's how one is able to understand Krishna more and more and more. And one cannot understand Shiva, one cannot understand devotees, one can understand Krishna, one can't understand the gopis, one can't understand Gopishvara Mahadev, one can't understand devotees if these material desires are there. It's very difficult. So to the degree that one's free from material desires, to that degree one can understand more and more about Krishna. And as it's mentioned in here, Gopishvara Mahadev. So Gopishvara Mahadev, apparently Lord Shiva, he wanted to enter the Rasa Leela dance. He wanted to see. And as it's understood that no other male besides Krishna could enter, just gopis and Krishna. So apparently what happened is Gopishvara Shiva, somehow the Krishna, he said, okay, you can enter, but take a bathe in this kund here. So he took a bath in the kund, and he came out, and he was a gopi. That's Gopishvara Mahadev. So he came out, and then he was able to enter this Rasa Leela dance, and specifically, he's the guard there. He doesn't let anybody in who's not qualified. And, she, Gopishvara Mahadev. And there's a temple in Vrindavan, that devotees could visit, Gopishvara Mahadev. So, again, if one has too many material desires, then it's very difficult to understand these things. And you could say that's the tendency, to want to understand things that are of, you could say that are high level by nature. I mean, people want the best. That's how people are. They want the best. They want the best this, the best that. They want the best they could get. So similarly within Krishna consciousness, sometimes people they think, okay, well, the highest is right, understanding Radha and Krishna and their Leela, so I want to immediately understand that. And Prabhupada would say, okay, first learn the ABCs, and you could talk about getting a PhD. First things first, there's stages. And as devotees were mentioned the other day, there was a particular group within Los Angeles, and I heard, actually, according to this, Hadishari Prabhu's book, Transcendental Diary, there was quite a few members. I was surprised, actually. I thought maybe it was 10 or something, but there was 50 members. That was shocking. And they were producing a newsletter, and they sent it to New York and other temples. And Tamal Krishna Goswami was there in L.A. with Prabhupada, Rameshwar, and Swami, and all of them, and having conversations about this in the morning walk. It was a very wonderful conversation they have. But Tamal Krishna Goswami was going to leave Los Angeles to go to New York to stop it. So, and they were trying to recruit people. It wasn't that it was just like, 5 devotees having a little reading group or something. They were fired up to recruit people. So, one point, Radha Vallabha Prabhu, he mentions to Prabhupada, Prabhupada, they have this group, Gopi Bhava group, and they're picking out sections in the Chaitanya Charitamrita of the gopis and Krishna. And their idea is that over time they want to develop this mood. Siddhadeha, they want to develop this mood. So then Prabhupada immediately said, this is Prakriti Sahaja, this is cheap. This is cheap. They take things cheap. And so that was one particular case. And there's 3 sections in this book where Prabhupada mentions it. This is Harishari Prabhu's invaluable book, Volume 2, Transcendental Diary. But Prabhupada, he doesn't. He just says, okay, it's. This is Prakriti Sahaja, and not much more is said about it. Then some days pass, and then Prabhupada's servant Pradyumna Prabhu comes into Prabhupada's room with some fruits and some for breakfast, puffed rice, fried cashews, Prabhupada's breakfast. And Pradyumna was a little disturbed, and he begins to complain to Prabhupada that about the study group. Actually, it was yesterday. It was the day before Radha Vallabha Prabhu mentioned it, the study group. And then, yes, Los Angeles now. Prabhupada's in Los Angeles. So then, Prabhupada, Pradyumna says what some of the devotees are saying who are in that group. He said, I told Prabhupada one devotee was reported to have said that the Gita was too bodily conscious and external, and that he became inspired only by reading about Krishna's confidential internal dealings, especially those of the gopis and Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. Prabhupada was so disturbed by this news that the piece of fruit he held in his hand never made it to his mouth. Abandoning breakfast, he went back into his darshan room and called for all GBC men and sannyasis. So they're all there, come immediately. As well as for several members of the study group. He demanded to know who was involved. And then Hridayananda Maharaj said that Paranjana, Sulochan, a few devotees were involved, leading, I guess. And so, as they related the incident, Srila Prabhupada's anger flared. Just see, because the incident that they related was that they're saying that there was something lacking in these other relationships with Mother Yashoda and different things. So Prabhupada got really upset about that. And he said, just see, he declared disgustingly, Mother Yashoda is less than the gopis. This is their thinking, and they want Siddha Deha. Prabhupada was furious that such things could develop within ISKCON. But this time the men were in his room, and for almost 3/4 of an hour he strongly rebuked the group, angrily refuting its reasoning. He compared their exclusive focus on the gopis to jumping like monkeys. Paranjana said their intention was to simply scrutinize the activities of the gopis and develop the same aspirations, because this was recommended by Lord Chaitanya. Prabhupada got even angrier. He was in no mood for being mollified. You want to scrutinizingly study Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's instructions, but why just the parts about the gopis? Why don't you scrutinizingly study where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Guru More Mukha Deki Karela Shasana, that his guru found him to be a fool, and told him that he was not fit for anything but chanting Hare Krishna? Why don't you scrutinize that part? First become a fool like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu before jumping over like monkey. Paranjana tried to reassure him that there was that they were not attempting to imitate the gopis' love of Krishna. They were simply studying the descriptions so that they could develop such desires. Prabhupada flushed, his top lip quivering. First deserve, then desire. There's no question of desire unless one is actually liberated. Until that point, you simply do whatever service you are given. So long as there is any pinch of material desire, there is no question of desiring on the spiritual platform. The exclamation marks are all here. He said the intimate gopi leelas were discussed by Lord Chaitanya only among his 3 most confidential associates, Srup Damodar, Ramananda Roy, and Shiki Mahiti. Siddha Deha is for liberated souls, no one else. So we're almost few short paragraphs left. Sulochan said that they had thought it was all right because it was in Prabhupada's books, and they were only reading his books. Prabhupada told them that just because a drugstore has every type of drug, it does not mean that one can get them without prescription. The doctor prescribes according to the disease. He said that from the beginning stages of devotional service up to the highest rasas, everything is there in his books, but they are not all to be immediately studied. He ordered them not to hold any more meetings and to disband the club. He directly linked the Sahajiya tendency to our ISKCON devotees meeting with the Babajis in Vrindavan, and he strongly criticized Jagannath Das for even leaving his ears unblocked while the man spoke to him about so-called Siddha Deha. So apparently Jagannath Das, he was in Vrindavan. Yeah, he was in Vrindavan before, and he was talking with one of these Babajis. Recently when I heard one devotee, because this stuff is going on, unfortunately, and on and on and on, but somewhat recently, one devotee went to Radha-Kund, there were a lot of Babajis there, and he went to one side of the Kund, and he got initiated with Siddha Deha. They gave him his spiritual body, and they said, Siddha Pranali, yeah. They said, you are a gopi. And, give him all the information about that. And then he went... No. Although I did see a man in a sari in Varshana, but anyways. And then he went on to the other side of the Kund, and he got initiated again by another Babaji. And they said he was someone else, cowherd boy, They gave him all the descriptions. Anyways, after sending them out, duly chastened, Prabhupada explained to us that this Sahaja philosophy means the preaching will be finished. So try to save them, he advised the GBC men. In Vrindavan, many Sahajas would ask, "Oh, Swamiji, why are you bothering to preach? Why not just be content to stay in Vrindavan and do your bhajan?" So yeah, these are all misconceptions. And Prabhupada, this is 1976, and Prabhupada was very kindly pointing them out to his disciples. But there's so many from our acharyas, Narottam Das Thakur, so many great devotees in our line, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, so many wonderful devotees, and they have so many beautiful songs in which they explain the process by which one could become qualified to actually understand higher things and enter the spiritual world and all those wonderful things. And so many times they say you have to get the mercy of Lord Nityananda. You have to get the mercy of Lord Nityananda, because by getting the mercy of Lord Nityananda, we'll be able to become completely free of material desires, which is the qualification for entering Vrindavan. Actually, not a plane ticket or whatever. It's getting free of material desires. So, and as Prabhupada said, and my guru quoted, and I'm quoting that. If Prabhupada said, if one wants to approach Radha Krishna, which is the highest, then one has to get the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and if one wants that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy, one has to get the mercy of Lord Nityananda. If one wants to get the mercy of Lord Nityananda, one should approach people like Jagai and Madai, the fallen conditioned souls of this world, and give them Krishna consciousness. So it's not just like preaching, it's for the neophytes or something. No, preaching is the means, actually, as Prabhupada says, to get free of material desires, Nityananda Prabhu's mercy, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy. Then, yeah. So yeah, and this is how we understand Shiva, Gopeshwar Mahadev, Gopis, Prabhupada. This is how we understand. And there's another section here that I won't get into now, but 1976, June 7th, a very wonderful account of Tamal Krishna Goswami and Rameshwar Swami and Prabhupada, all of them meeting on a morning walk and discussing some of the different philosophical points, or so-called philosophical points, of this Gopi Bhav group. And Prabhupada's dismantling it one after the other. Yeah. So it's quite, it's quite interesting. It's quite interesting, the conversation. One thing I'll just throw out there that it says in that conversation this morning walk, Rameshwar Swami was saying that, these devotees, many of them are sincere, many of them are following the principles. And then Tamal Krishna Goswami said, well, I'm not sure if some of them are following the principles. And he said one of the leaders of the group, a woman, because is what it's saying here, there was a leader of the men, a leader of the women. And the leader of the woman, it is said that after becoming a devotee, she had an abortion. And then Prabhupada heard about that in this morning walk conversation, and he said, just see, they want to understand the gopis and Krishna, but they're just using it to fulfill their debauchery. Anyways, so many different points are brought up there in that conversation. Very nice points. So, anyways, I don't mean to be on. Vaishnava Nam Yata Shambhu. Shiva's the greatest devotee. And Okay, does anybody have any... Sorry to end on a... oh, that was sweet. No. We're not ended yet. We actually have some questions and comments, so we could...
I have 2 comments and a question. Worshipping his devotees, I was thinking that you've also got Krishna worshipping Sudam Brahmana.
Yes.
So there are examples of him, Krishna worship. It doesn't mean that just like him worshipping Lord Shiva, he worships his devotees. It doesn't mean Sudam Brahma is the supreme personality of Godhead. And also Ramaswara asked, Nikunjayono Radhakela Siddha, making tasteful arrangements. And Prabhupada actually said that for our practical understanding, that means organizing Sankirtan, bringing the conditioned souls back to Krishna's lotus feet. Just like Radharani is making arrangements for the gopis are making arrangements for her to... So that flavor comes down to us in the mood of bringing the conditioned souls back to the lotus feet of Krishna and making plans, and that becomes our absorption. So that's how we approach these things. That's the mood of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, not that we're out there with a sari or whatever the nonsense is. But my question is, well, wait a minute, I've been chanting Hare Krishna 50 years. And, are you saying the holy name has no effect? I've been following the principles. I've been chanting Hare Krishna for 50 years. I'm ready to move into these higher levels. So there it is, okay, fine, deserve, then desire. Well, hey, 50 years of service, that's not enough to deserve, so I'm going to be, find me in Radhakund, man, I've earned it. What would you say to that, Balaramji? I'm ready to make that next step, I'm no new bhakta.
Yeah. Well, what can I say? Well... So, well, it says, well, Rupa Goswami, he says that there is injunctions, okay, to live in a holy place. That is there. But for preaching purposes, obviously, devotees live everywhere, can live anywhere. Yeah, and also this is a holy place. But also Rupa Goswami said that if one cannot physically live there, they should mentally live there. Means that they should be very Krishna conscious. Vrindavan atmosphere create that. Or as one devotee was telling another devotee, he said, because one devotee was mentioning, living in a holy place is very important, and specifically, I want to pack my bags and move to Vrindavan. That was a kind of the injunction, you could say, or at least I'm using it like that now. But this devotee said, well, yes, that's true, to live in a holy place is important, but he said Kamsa, he also lived in Mathura. It's a holy place, So... Yeah, and his demonic friends. So it's the consciousness. That's what it's about. Consciousness, Krishna consciousness, and that doesn't necessarily that doesn't depend on one's surroundings, right? Savai pumso paro dhammayato bhakti hoksajay. There's no material. What is it? Material impediment. Yeah. And as Prabhupada says in this section here, because he mentions Radhakund, he said, they think they're living in Radhakund, but they're not living in Radhakund. They're living in Narakakund. It means hell. So yeah, chanting 50 years and all these things. Of course, by doing that, by dedicating oneself to the Sankirtan movement, one obviously can have, and many times does have, access to higher understandings of Krishna consciousness, and but following in Prabhupada's mood. So it's not that, I've been a devotee so long that I should immediately just pack up and go on the side of the Radhakund. Doesn't mean that. So I don't know if that.
You're on the right vein. Let me ask you this.
Okay.
Does anyone want to make the case that there is a more exalted example of full Krishna consciousness than Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And what did we find Chaitanya Mahaprabhu doing? He was chanting, he was preaching, he was traveling. Even in Jagannath Puri, he was going out on Harinam. He was preaching. Now, do we find a higher example of pure Krishna consciousness than Srila Prabhupada? And what was Prabhupada doing? And if you go down the line, what was Narottam Das Thakur doing? What was Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur doing? They're on the highest level of Krishna Prem. And what they were finding the most relishable activity was preaching Krishna consciousness, giving Krishna consciousness to others. So if you are actually on that state, you don't find them retreating to Vrindavan. You find them relishing their rasa with Krishna and the holy name by preaching. So that's the exemplar, that's the standard, that's the proof that one's actually on that level. Because you can't find higher examples in them. And what were they doing?
Yeah. Yeah, in that same line, Prabhupada told my spiritual master that if someone just studies the life of Lord Chaitanya, they could become perfect. And my spiritual master said, similarly, if one just studies the life of Prabhupada, anybody, whoever they'll obviously benefit a lot. So yeah, that's obvious. What you said is extremely valuable and most important. And also, I'm thinking about the ecstasy of preaching. You're saying Prabhupada and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and
Not that there was a higher taste.
Yeah.
Really, the higher taste is to be there in radical and just thinking of, as you said, you can think about that anywhere. You can think within the core of your heart. What was that we just read the other day? Ishwar Puri saying that, the great yogis in the Himalayas, they're relishing the presence of the super soul within their heart. But as for me, when I look in my heart, I'm seeing the sapphire-colored power boy who's sprawling in Vrindavan without a care. That's what I see in my heart.
Yeah.
So, first off, it's none of our business what's in other people's hearts, and we don't know what's in the heart of these insulting devotees. We don't even know what's in the heart, really, of another advanced devotee. But it's not that they're, if they really would be relishing some private ras and some radhakun, but out of duty they're preaching. But actually, that preaching is the relishing of that rasa.
Yeah. Yeah, Prabhupada initiated one devotee, Bhavananda. And, and Bhavananda, he was a little kind of like, why did Prabhupada, because Bhava means material world, and Ananda means bliss of the material world. So Prabhupada, why did he name me that? So he went to ask Prabhupada, what does that mean, Prabhupada? And Prabhupada said, Bhavananda, he said, the bliss of the material world means preaching. Mm-hmm. And he said, in the material world you could preach, but in the spiritual world, everybody's a pure devotee. So this is the bliss of the material world. So that's what he was saying. So yeah, Vijay, probably have a comment.
There was one
question.
pastime Prabhupada was in India, and he was visiting one couple, and they asked Prabhupada, can you tell us some of the intimacies of pastimes of Radha and Krishna? And Prabhupada said, no, I'm not qualified to speak about that. And they said, Prabhupada, we're keen. We're keen. You can tell us. He said, you may be keen, you may be qualified, but I'm not qualified to speak.
Yeah.
And he
I saw an impressed Prabhupada on that line in Detroit. And give us some intimate higher pastimes. And Prabhupada said that higher pastime is Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And he's come again to save the world. So that you want to know high Rasa Leela, that you just study Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes.
Yeah. Okay. One last comment. One last comment from Madhusudan Prabhu, and then we'll
Madhusudana Prabhu says, an advanced devotee, being very humble, would naturally ask for confirmation from other advanced devotees before assuming to have understood their Siddhadeha or living as a Babaji at Radhakunda.
I'm going to say one more thing. Prabhupada, I personally saw this, 1970 Los Angeles, I forget the month. Probably summertime. Prabhupada would come, of course the temple room was in the old temple, it was where the museum is now. But Prabhupada would come from his quarters, come out the door, then he would come up, greet the deities, take Charnamrita, sit on his Vyasasana, and he was teaching us Sri Upanishad. Instead of Bhagavatam class, he was teaching us the Upanishad mantras. And, you know, Prabhupada, when he would, you know, take Charnamrita and he'd sit on his Vyasasana, we would all bow down. And as we were coming up, and even before we would come up, Prabhupada would start rolling out with his oceanic voice of the ages, Om Purnamada Purnamidam. He would start rolling out with the verses. And we became used to that. You know, we would bow down and we would be coming up and Prabhupada would already be chanting and we'd join in with Prabhupada. This particular day, no sound. So we offered our dandavats, Prabhupada said, and no sound. And we looked, Prabhupada was sitting very straight. The Vyasasana was in the back, the deities were here. We didn't have big Radha, Rukmini, Dwarkadis, just the little deities. And Prabhupada was looking very straight as an arrow and very intensely at the deities. And then we looked, and his cheeks were wet. Tears were pouring down his eyes, looking at the little deities. And he could not speak. Literally, I personally saw it. I saw him do this. Anyway, it's another story. But he was completely stunned in ecstasy, looking at the little deities. And then, we all saw it. With great effort, he just suppressed it. He just pushed it down because it was getting in the way of his service of teaching his disciples, his service to his Guru Maharaj to teach his disciples. That ecstasy was an impediment. Prabhupada was like, to hell with this. Prabhupada talks about Darukas fanning, and he goes into ecstasy and he can't fan properly, and he says, to hell with these symptoms, So that was Prabhupada's mood. It was just, it was like a byproduct of his life. And it just got in the way that he was stunned and couldn't speak. He did it another time in Mayapur, and the devotee said, Prabhupada, what do we do when this happened? Later on in the room, they asked, Brahmananda or Bhavananda, what do we do? And Prabhupada's first response was, just like an innocent child, I don't do it very much. He was like apologetic. So this idea that, I'm just waiting till I feel these higher symptoms and then someone will confirm and now I know what my Siddha day is and, I'll go about my business, but actually I'll be, No. That's not how it is at all. Your heart is flowing with whatever higher ecstasy is there, and the manifestation of that is you love Krishna so much you want to deliver the conditioned souls. That's the proof. And anything that gets in the way of that, you just get rid. That's a sign that you're not that. And I will not mention his name, but there was that guy who tried to take over after Prabhupada. Your Guru Maharaj, he installed Krishna Balaram in Vrindavan, where really, what does that mean? He's only of the level of a cowherd boy. Discounting the fact that Prabhupada installed Radha Krishna deities all over the planet. And Prabhupada had his strategy. There's so many Radha Krishna temples in Vrindavan. We're at Radha Raman, we'll install Krishna Balaram, and it will become very attractive. And it worked. But this idea that, I'm, higher ras, and ISKCON, we're the blue collar, they can only teach you so much. They'll teach you how to work hard, but they won't. It is such offensive rubbish. And it's as soon as that comes out of their mouth, it's symptomatic that they are not on the level they're proposing. The proof of that level is that all the great acharyas, they were completely absorbed in the preaching work. That's the proof.
Jai. All right. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.